Sonam La, Chanju Badu Dani Kapsuchi, Dadi Chunin Kipe Sonam Ki, Jola Banje Sangye Drupa Shu, Shodan Sodi Sonam La, Chanju Badu Dani Kapsuchi, Dagi Chunin Kipe Sonam Ki, Jola Banje Sangye Drupa Shu, Shodan Sodi Sonam La, Chanju Badu Dani Kapsuchi, Dagi Chunin Kipe Sonam Ki, Jola Banje Sangye Drupa Shu.
So Dayata
Gade Gade Paragade Parasangade Bodhi Swaha.
Dayata Gade Gade Paragade Parasangade Bodhi Swaha. Dayata Gade Gade Paragade Parasangade Bodhi Swaha.
Good morning.
Semje Damjo Tojalana Machiva Sanjay Kumbara Muja Chineji Towacha. The Asia and the Janjus of a Labina Tujan, now I think was similar to a Tujan Manawach Kotu.
So let's set our motivation again to do whatever we possibly can to attain the peerless state of enlightenment and take all sentient beings to that state. And of course, in order to attain that state, I must perfect all the trainings on the bodhisattva path. To perfect those trainings in turn, I must be able to gain knowledge of them based on an unmistaken presentation. And so it is with this in mind that I'm here to hear a talk from the series of teachings known as the Graduated Path to Enlightenment this morning.
Because the Sanjay Sai Bodon and Lam Riba and Chatsamba and Chatsamba, Gorim Machoa and what that did chat here, what did it, and what did it.
So just to introduce again the notion of what is meant by the graduated path to enlightenment that we remember there in the motivation, and that the graduated path of enlightenment is a presentation of all the teachings of the Buddha in such a way that one can begin as a rank beginner and be able to proceed to the actual state of enlightenment itself, to reach the state of Buddhahood based on the teachings of the graduated path. And that they are distinguished in the sense that the graduated path is said to be complete in presenting the teachings of the Buddha. They are presented in the correct order and they are unmistaken.
Buddha said, Marazu Luguna Yobegan, Tobashaja to Oten Mitchell and Rich Quay Mare. The Buddha said, and a king child Yonso was said, you take a child Yonso so much. That in the day they get and the Buddha's Gorova. Because a simple unit, touch.
And so that when we hear the term Buddha, many people just simply refer that back to the historical figure Shakyamuni Buddha. But this is not the only instance of one who has attained the state of a Buddha. That Buddha refers to anyone who has eradicated all faults from their mind and perfected all their good qualities. And as such, the Buddha or enlightenment refers to the quality of mind, that is free of all defilement and fault, and it is completely fulfilled its potential for all good.
Because of the Russian data, Sanjay Rikshe. Not a lot of Jama Shingitwa. And go Mashi, but never saw it. To Hakoestua. That they call the Koranga Russian day, Sanjay Rikshe.
And so that for all of us, what we have in common is that we are known as sentient beings. And sentient beings refers to those entities that have a mind or a consciousness. And that furthermore, the nature of that consciousness is that it has Buddha potential or Buddha nature. And that is simply the potential to attain enlightenment. And that is demonstrated in one way through the fact of our studying. And as we study, we eradicate more and more of what is unknown to us and gain more knowledge or objects of knowledge. And that this is indicative of the nature of consciousness, the nature of mind, and that refers to that Buddha nature in the mind.
And then how go it rigni yoga, rigni de, and the chick, Kunzo Barashing Rick, don't have a ranching Rick. That Kunzo Barashing to get the Hagway, the catch and border, delay catch out the don't have a ranching Hagways.
And when we talk about the objects of knowledge, or what is to be known, there are two different categories there, or types of knowledge, conventional and ultimate. And although conventional knowledge is important, it pales in significance when compared to the importance of ultimate knowledge or ultimate reality.
And Kunzo Chuki, Nedan Katse Shimba Yimba Yina, Yabu Yorte, Yina, Duenda Benezu Mashibana, Kunzo Benezu Chasawaji Shintu Mari.
And say no matter how much we know of conventional knowledge, conventional reality, if we fail to understand ultimate knowledge, then our understanding of even conventional reality will be incomplete always.
Duenda Benezu Yabu Shimba Yina, Kunzo Benezu Nezuti, Uncle Lelabuch Hakotos.
And then conversely speaking, if we have an excellent knowledge of ultimate reality or ultimate knowledge, then it's very easy to gain the full understanding of conventional knowledge and reality.
And the Kunzo Beneta data, Rick Tayabajora, Rick Tayabati, then Yongtante, and Donda Beranchi, Neta, Dendeji by Insa, and the Kunzo Beneta ticket Yong to you at Shetwich.
And that the very kind of infinite multiplicity of conventional knowledge and reality is only fully understood. Its arising, its emergence, it can only be understood through an understanding of ultimate reality.
What did it? That Kunzo Beranchente, because Donda Beranchente, Tapena, because of the church condition by in Chinanga church condition by in because of the Udena Juba, do some megante. Do some megante, and don't have a chat.
And so when we talk about ultimate reality, the ultimate knowledge, it refers to the essential nature of all objects, of all phenomena. And that here, whether they are inner or external or internal objects, phenomena, that they all have this in common, that they are completely empty of any objective existence. They do not exist inherently even at the atomical level.
Then you didn't do what do some never in by Yensan, and you call continue to join then you age. Because of the Tene Jungati and the Casa de Reme to Chaparda. Reme. Dilishembella.
And so that so when we understand that the phenomena do not exist inherently or objectively in any sense, even at the atomical level, then we understand that they therefore must arise in dependence. That when we have a good understanding of that, we can see that there is no alternative, there is no other way that they can arise, that they can exist. They must arise, they must exist in dependence.
And you didn't Matubati, cheated that they maybe do my budget. You didn't Matubati, Karta was cheated that they didn't join but the Tati didn't.
And so that we understand that the fact of phenomena lacking any objective existence does not infer that they therefore do not exist. Actually, we need to understand that what that tells us, their lack of any objective existence, implies and infers that they actually must arise in dependence. It rise in dependence.
다 되면서 때내 중앙 인바 인상 아니 나라서 대화다 동네다 강가디 대화 줍답 요게 동네 셋업 인게 아니 뭐저 레와디 뭐 저도도 와.
And that the very fact that phenomena arise in dependence makes possible the actual notions of happiness and indeed suffering. And therefore, the notions of being able to establish the causes to give rise to happiness and to eradicate the causes that give rise to suffering.
다 유대는 주바 임바이나 아니 그 라와크라 요 말이야. 그 유아메베 때도 내고 그래. 유아메베 때도 내겐지 그 수강 유아 땅토에 요 말이야. 유아 땅토 그 루아 그 유대는 주바나 그 내적 그 로디 그 유아메베 때 내고. 다 유대는 뭐 주바 때는 주바 인사 가지네 주어 줬지 맞지.
And so that if phenomena existed objectively, arose objectively, that they would then by their very nature be unchangeable, that no change, no progress could be possible whatsoever, and that nobody could indeed make any change to that, nobody could alter that in any way. This is the nature of phenomena that are that could be objectively existent. But the very fact that the phenomena do not exist in that way, that they arise in dependence, that they are dependent arisings, makes possible all change and all transformation.
대대 임바서 다다 남배 슈네 셰베 동반이 시게데 동바 땡중고 되는 거 같게 땡중데 동배 되는 거 같게 다 된대지 주와이나 안 남배게 동반이 시게데 된다데 갈까서 하고요.
So when we talk about the Buddhist teaching on emptiness, what it really refers to is the understanding of the relationship between emptiness on the one hand and dependent origination, or dependent arising on the other. That the one is referring or inferring the other at all times. That emptiness brings us to dependent arising, then dependent arising refers us back to emptiness. And this is the way in which we gain the correct view of the doctrine or concept of emptiness.
근데 이 인사 동반이 있으는데 약고 심발라 각자 문제도 쉬우게 개체 모래. 각자의 약고자 하고 봐 이나 안 동반 못 되고요.
And therefore, when we talk about emptiness and the meditation on emptiness, what is paramount is to understand what is called the object to be negated. That when we gain a good understanding of the object to be negated, then it is very easy to bring our meditation on emptiness to fulfillment.
예. 다 된대 임바 인사 다 된대 인사 첩 근처시 임바 이네. 즉 딱바 이네다 뭐고 임바 이네다 지난 거 근처 다 해봐 줘도 대다 탐색 랑신데 유대는 좀 듀자 메겐치 워 듀자 메겐치도 어다 되는데 데 아니 최 탐색에 내로 타도 어디 차대요.
And therefore, it's very useful to be able to regard all phenomena, regardless of what those phenomena are, whether permanent or impermanent, as in functioning objects, that they do not exist objectively, even at the atomical level. That is very important to constantly remind and refresh ourselves with regard to this, because it is the really doorway into understanding all of the Buddha Dharma.
어디래 다디래 다디 데네 뭐야 다디 인자 나랑 속에 미드베 동에 되게티 줄라되는 연구요래 줄라된 요거래 아 주대 독숨라 되는 연구요래 아니 디 독숨디야 아니 가서라 다 가자 단제 마리팔라 되는 연구래 그렇다 단제 마리파테 다도 좀 받을 되는 연구요래 다도 좀 뭐요게 내서 다도 마주바레테 얘네야 나란돌라 다도 주바나 나와 다도 진데 아니 차단 걸로 나 소바지 깨네 아니 미드베 동에 다나 소바지 되고 요 말때 얘네 요거 요래.
And so that for us then the we need to understand that the suffering that we do not desire arises from its specific causes and conditions, and that they often are summarized into what are known as the three poisonous minds of attachment, aversion, and ignorance, and that the key one, or the root cause of these three, is that this ignorance of grasping at a self entity, and that here we, by holding such a mistaken concept that all subsequent mistaken choices are made, and that that though a self like that does not exist, yet it appears like that to our minds, then we accede to that appearance, we accept that appearance as something true, and on the basis of that we engage in the attachment and aversion to self and other, and make these kind of bad choices, and thereafter the negativities arise, the afflictive emotions, therefore we engage in negativities, and these lay imprints on the mind.
아니 남자들도 바자샤도 아니 소소의 치가 나가데 실렌스바스 뭔도 주저도 아니 쇠다 아니 깨와질래 아니 디 깨war래네 아니 다 동해 되거든요 아니 시 디가래 야 렌나 소베사 남자들도 바자다 이제 저는 토스제네 원남에 봐 이제 코디가 왔다 다 된대죠 코디도 이제 샤샤와는 먼저 탈이 그 고급 요마르다 다 근데 타고 뒤 싸워 가르셔 제좀 싸워도 단지 머리 보이서 디 니보 다음에 또 베셔럽스게 두문도 디 여봐 있나 아니 다들 공고고 요래.
So we have to understand in the kind of the cyclical bind that we are in, that we engage thereafter through the mistaken understanding of reality, or in engaging in negative activities which lay imprints on the mind, and which at the point of death then are awakened by craving, grasping, and these propel us into another life. We are born again. Again, we meet with suffering in that life. Again, we engage in multifarious activities that lay imprints on the mind again, which leads to death, and so on, and so on, and so on. And that we have been cycling in this, what's known as cyclic existence, from the peak of that cyclic existence down to the hell known as the hell without respite, from beginningless time, with no opportunity for liberation. And so we need to understand that the very root cause of all of this this major problem is this ignorance of grasping at the true existence of a self entity, and that we need to see then, is there any possibility of a solution to that, of being able to uproot that basic fundamental misunderstanding. And there is, and it's known as the wisdom of selflessness. And this is something that can be cultivated. It can operate to directly oppose that particular ignorance, and thereby give us a route towards liberation.
그래서 가서 단지 머리 봤으니까 코난다 요래 로래 이내 그거 유디 안 다도 마주바 신도 다도 마주바 임바 마주바라 다도 주바 아는 진벨로 인자고 록시 차대요 봐 자다 다 데데 임바자 가서 다도 마주바 또고 요 말때 이내 뭐네 저 다도 마주바 임바 인자 아니 그 뒷도베 로직 다 용초해지로 와 아니 가서는 다도 마주바디 다도 마주바 다도 주바 진벨 로티 그 록시에 그 잡된 참아 요 말이야 다도 마주바 진벨 로티라 그 잡된 참아 요래 잡된 참아 임바 인자 그 제바 제제 녀바니네 녀바니베 되도 곰 탐에도 배워 요와 거기서 잡된 참아 요바 인자.
And so really the hope for us is that the mind which grasps at the true existence of a self entity is a mind, but it's mistaken with regard to its object, and so its object is thinking something exists in a way that it does not exist, and that this then is a mistaken consciousness, and as such it can be uprooted, it can be countered, and it is not because it's not backed up by valid reasoning. Whereas the mind that's presented as the one that opposes that mistaken attitude, the wisdom of selflessness, is a mind that is unmistaken, and it is backed up by valid reasoning. And therefore, we can habituate to that mind exponentially. We can continuously become more and more familiar with that. As we become more and more familiar with that mind, it becomes ever more valid, and that we can gain then the necessary conviction to really penetrate through and overcome the mistaken attitude of seeing a self or phenomena as truly existent. And so that's why we recite this mantra, as Genla's recited there from the Heart Sutra, Tayata Om Tata Tayata Gate Gate Paragate Parasamgate Bodhi Svaha. This is the mantra of the wisdom mantra.
Kasana ko yuden de duwa yinzang lamnga den go ba ko yo ma re yuden de ma duwa yin ba yinzang an ko duwa tang ye yo yinzang an ko cholam jolam tholam kolam mirolam jan riba shi de tene tamsi chama tuk tu sung duwa.
And so what the this mantra also symbolizes are the five paths. And that it is also, because it's referring to a progression within those five paths, it's inferring that because phenomena lack any objective existence, such a progression is actually possible. Whereas if phenomena existed objectively or inherently, no transformation, indeed no change, no alteration could be possible at all. And so the mantra is both the mantra of emptiness and wisdom, and also it is pointing out that this is the path that can be, that in which you can make progress from the path of accumulation to the path of preparation, to the path of seeing, the path of meditation, and finally to reach the path of no more learning.
What is that? Tanda ngaranzo ge ane mutebe tunga mutunu yonde dewa dugu yode dewa mayo yode karsana muyu ge nechu to mato ane mato ache ane dida tuba dromato wa yinza ane mutebe tunga de dugu yomade mutunu yonde ge yorba yonde ge ta mozo muyu ge nechu to ye ane dida tuba drotu ye de geche murida.
And so for us then the prognosis is that we experience the suffering that we do not desire. We fail to experience the happiness that we so desire because we are not operating by gaining an understanding of actuality, of the way things really are. And that as long as we operate with that misunderstanding, this unsatisfactory situation will continue. And so it is vital that we gain the proper understanding of reality in order to transform this situation, to know that we can eradicate the suffering that we do not want, and we can establish the happiness that we so want.
Today is a Kunzo Venezuela, Getchambore, Tile Getch, Jonda Venezuela, Denta Venezuela, Yapuji Shibayina, and Shiba the Tuba Rangi Misiketa, Yapuji Chua Yimbayina, but thank you to get to twist. Thank you to get to twist. That was a switch was a meal you didn't eat and the Cheto, because Namju Yapujana, what to do, Namju Yapusko. That Namju Yapshut was meal you didn't. And these are the Pejumano, Tantoina, and cousin Chigi was a meaningful life. Temena, Chig music, Motor Zibuno, Combat Zibuno, Kalashibusa, Desa Yabu, Samla, and then go on the Chimbayina, me and Namju Chasaj Beju down to Gumudua.
And therefore, as pointed out, that as good and as useful as an understanding of conventional knowledge and reality is, it is far more important for us to have an understanding of ultimate reality. And that here, when we have that understanding, it's very important for us to act in harmony with that understanding in order to really work towards a permanent, true happiness. And that this is the prerogative really for us as human beings, because we have the necessary intelligence to be able to see this way forward and to act on the basis of a good understanding. And so it's important that we make this unmistaken choice and take this unmistaken way in order to make for a meaningful life. And that to really avoid falling into the short-sighted trap of thinking that life is fulfilled by being able to, buy a house, buy a new car, and just basically gain possessions. And that would be a very unfulfilling way to spend this good life, this precious human rebirth.
지난데 고거 말씀도 고거 요르다 얘네다 개치슈디 뭐요가 내주 시바치에트 아니 뭐요가 내주 야고 시바이나 동행 정화에네 동행의 셋업 싱그레 대화 중화에네 대화의 배주 딱딱딱 싱그레 뭐봐 대화 망아 배주 용의 유튜브 그래.
And so that, of course, we're not saying that, the possessions of a car and a house are not necessary and that they are good to have. Of course they are. But we don't want to place so much importance on them that's all we work towards, all we spend our energy on. That there's much more to human life than that, especially through understanding the potential that we have in order to be able to eradicate suffering on the one hand, and to really establish happiness on the other. And not just to establish happiness, but to put in place, through our understanding of reality, the causes to lead to continuous happiness, future happiness, permanent happiness for us. It is very important for us to maybe put the right emphasis on life.
지금 지단 전부를 가서 출루민자다 지금 lumba다 내다다 되는 민자 온게 아니 출루민자와 되는 뭐 싶지 않아. 아니 출루 관계가 지금 장바다 닝제다 수여바다 출중도 관계 개념을 쓰고도 와. 다 최는 그 랑신 타도 들다 쓰는 아니 못되게 아니 코에 자와데 아니 가서 단지 머리 버리다 뭐라 뒤에 뭐 담에 또 배셔라다 리페 람네 때라 빠네. 이거 다 또만 약제제도 와. 또만 약제제도 와.
And so that in general we can, offer definite appreciation and praise to the many different religions and spiritual traditions around the world that are catering to the many different personalities and dispositions of human beings, and all contain wonderful teachings on the generation of love, compassion, patience, kindness, and so on. But when it comes to really looking at the nature of reality, and to understanding what the root cause of cyclic existence is, to be able to establish a path of reasoning that is able to get to the heart of the problem of cyclic existence and offer a solution in the form of the wisdom of selflessness. It is really only the Buddha who has demonstrated this path and given these instructions.
Dene tane ane tengi dewa duye du ane sengbe rangshin de ane sanje rigre dende yinsa dini yonsu zoba zoye du ane pangda de dende spangure sene ane chigi dagin laye ne chira tolam kola miro la rimba shida la manowa machowa chatsangwa wata dres tela bagme ta sanje nyakjire duwa.
And in pointing out that there is the possibility of liberation from this suffering reality, that we have the raw material at our disposal in the form of Buddha nature, that look at this is what needs to be abandoned, and it's possible to abandon or overcome this with using these particular methods and following the path as we described, like the 5 the path of accumulation, preparation, seeing meditation and no more learning, and in the form of the graduated path to enlightenment, a presentation that is unmistaken, that is complete, that is in the correct order, that all of this has been laid out by the Buddha as a blueprint for us to follow, to be able to also attain that liberation.
Yeah, and Rigbe Lamne Telapana, the Sanjay Sungre, Chigures, my bacha, T and Rigbe Cheva Chechuage, and then Rigbe the Tukumotuna, but torture Sanjay and Nawanan.
And indeed, also emphasizing, the Buddha emphasizing very, very seriously that this is simply not just to be followed because I said so, but it has to adhere to the path of reasoning, that it has to stand up to analysis, and where it doesn't stand up to analysis, that it should be abandoned and left aside. And so it has to be able to be validated through our own process of checking, our own process of analysis using the path of reasoning. This is a very key point.
No, what that the name is that what the Jantaka Taba to be. That Tabazam to buy there, and it could call it tower that there's something, Taiva Magas Semja Tamjala Pemba to Member Yimba, and a Taiva Magas Semja Tamjala Pemba to be a chateau, and Jaju Semja Tamjala to Sanjay Combat to me. Ras Sanjay Tova Yina, Semja to and to come to Meba Sama Pala, Chita was a Kingu Yubaisa, and Chita should to Yubaisa, what Sanjay Combat turned near the Lataka, Jaju Semkiku, what the chat.
And so when we talk about liberation, it's not simply the case that we can be satisfied by attaining the state of liberation or nirvana for ourselves alone. That we have to take into consideration countless mother sentient beings who are also suffering and in the same way as we are. And so we must find a means by which we can liberate all those mother sentient beings as well. And that through our analysis we conclude that this means that we must ourselves attain that state of enlightenment, that point of view that from the viewpoint of the enlightened mind that knows not only how to free other sentient beings, but indeed the individual karmas of those sentient beings, the proper way to help, the timing, etc., and all that's necessary to be able to assist and benefit them perfectly. And therefore, this is the process by which we enter into the training that we are discussing now to attain that state of enlightenment in order to be best able to benefit all sentient beings.
What's it? Tanga the treasure that Sabakashi to what in the treasure of the chair. That over the chair, and that I need the Cassis of some coalescence.
Shokang Gyatang Somju Soku, and also Dine, Jampa Gomsuni.
So, yeah. What is it? That is that Mazota, the Kibuchibu to the letter. Kibuchibu Kadata, Kibuchibu Kadala, let you do that. I'm a subject Tamjig to the Sanjay Command. That Sanjay Command is what that is that. What is it? That then Sanjay Command to the what is it? That the day you are liar, got to because of the Molam Javasa one, Mabajan Rana Janjuk, some Chuma Maimbacha. Sanjay Command. Sanjay Koba Tom to Chuma Maimbacha Rangula Kevala and Juyama was San Kevorta, because of the Judemanga doing communication, Tashin Yamje communication, Sumataka, Kokitu Nasopachungurwa, what did it check?
And so that we have in this particular text arrived at the section known as the path for the greater capacity being, or the Mahayana vehicle teachings. And that here, as has just been pointed out, the objective is, the recognition is that we must attain the state of enlightenment itself, ourselves, in order to be of benefit to all sentient beings. We have been advised that to simply pray for that in the form of aspirational prayers is not going to do it. We have to actually recognize and identify all the various causes and conditions necessary to establish in order to bring about and cultivate that mind in ourselves, and that this must lead to a genuine generation of what's called the mind of enlightenment, or bodhicitta. And that in that context we are presented in this teaching with two distinct sets of instructions for the generation of that mind itself. One is known as the 7 cause and effect instruction, and the other as the equalizing and exchange of self and other instruction.
다 간제 남중에 조단 도면서 소신을 버스 컴바체나 다 섭체 마동사체 어느 뒤에 소신 세다 소신 그 조어잖아 이제 라마투야 오버 세다 아니 대 땡존의 위에서 저거들 아니 냠리 지나 주에 저것도 치는 맞죠 냠리 지나 주에 라마 얘도 유연들 아니 가서 저도 잡아도 자야제 아니 되게 아니 가서 다 자야 타고나 가서 대다대 공부를 줄었어 그래 아니 가서 다 간제 사부다 주고 남아대가자 잡아게 타고들라는 가서도 다 가서 파바 토메다 이니라서베 가서도 나는 지라 주고 남아대다 가던 게 수바바 명아 발랑이 빠져 안돼 어디 저도 저걸로 저거 같이 주바자 둥거들랑 게 진짜 자외로 주동고도 남았고 안디 샵들라는 주대시 하죠 아니 디샵들 스케상 상계 동 디샵들 아니 저 가서도 장세 가서 니어스진 가서 장세 파바는 좋고 아니 디샵들 란제다 니에도 바오 칸도 추조송가 딱 이제 마사와 매와주요 삼사조 같은 고마시
And so then, as we normally begin in the context of this text, we set up what is known as the merit field, with the figure of Guru Munindra Vajradhara at the very center of that merit field, and then just behind we have the series of gurus known as the consecrated practices lineage, headed by Vajradhara. Then to the left and right we have Manjushri heading the profound view lineage of gurus, including luminaries such as Nagarjuna, Chandakirti, Buddha Palita, etc. And then on the right we had the figure of Maitreya, who is at the head of the extensive practices lineage, including such luminaries as Arya Asanga and Vasubandhu, etc. And then below them on both sides are the 3 different schools of the Kadampa lineage. Below them the grouping of the Geluk Lamas, lineage Lamas, at the center of which is Lama Tsongkhapa. And then at the very front of the central figure of Guru Munindra Vajradhara, we have the grouping of our own gurus, those from whom we have received teachings, at the center of which is our own root guru. And then below them the 4 sets of the tantras, and then the grouping of the Buddhas, the 1,000 Buddhas of this fortunate eon, etc. And below them the Arya Bodhisattvas, and then the Arhats, the solitary realizers, the Shravakas, the Dakas and Dakinis, and then the Dharma protectors, and feeling that they are all of the members of the merit field are all present without any exception.
대다가 투가래 아니 가서도 타입에다 신람장을 트네 아니 25 모스코라 젠잖아 아니 차상으로 소신 대다를 팀 소섬자자.
And then they, from their own heart centers, each member of that merit field send out light rays to the pure realms, inviting the wisdom beings who come to them and dissolve into each member of the merit field.
랑게 타고들래 아니 랑게 아니 지가 진짜 마킹게 심지 세대 파마네 저 빈빈저 조고 조문에 집에 아니 밤에 심지 다가는 생각 뒤도 랑지고 랑도는 뒤기고 매긴게 아니 저 탐에 당고서 잘라야지 딜러서베 아니 좋아지고 심지 타 마스모 매고 섬사지.
And then around ourselves we visualize all kind mother sentient beings, and included in there are those who we can recognize, like our parents, our relatives, our friends, those who we feel close to. Then we include a grouping of those who are neutral to us, from whom we have no particular feeling, and vice versa. And then even the grouping of those who we might in a common appearance see as enemy, who we have a sense of unease or aversion towards, and that this then branches out into all sentient beings without exception.
And semjale mi be ke ningje ani koso ningje che gewal mi be deba oda ka chosin de dal mi be deba what did ko pashe what did cha.
And that we view all the sentient beings with a mind of compassion, and simultaneously look towards the merit field in the space above us, in front of us, with the mind of faith.
chosin de da ya an je reju su je dunga nyo cha namba mi ne shin nam ju yu ke an chosin de da yuen de to ko ne ani deba to me ba de ji yu de what did che ko pashe to me what did cha.
And likewise, all the figures around us of all the sentient beings, they are resident in all the 6 realms of existence, but they have a sensibility and understanding of a human being. Therefore, they are able to look towards the merit field similarly, and they're able to gaze on the merit field with a mind of faith, like we ourselves.
And
then we offer the 7-limbed practice and also the mandala.
아니 대다 당고도 또 뒤서로 제 뭐자 아니 초신 대다 전에 아니 샤메 바오 칸도 주요송어서 바오 칸도 주요송어서 주요소 바오 칸도 다데 야지라 지금 야야된 되게 단자 랑게 되나 요베 딱가서 랑게 초신 대다고 조고 되나 아니 랑게 진짜 자외라면 주던 거를 대다 파팀소 상사자 아니 되네 지수 가서도 다데 장고 라고 송가버 집이 규바데 지라 지금 야잖아 아니 가서 가담 규바 지를 제단잖아 아니 가서도 다 가자제 다다 되고 가서 파바 토메다 다 가자 가서데 고블루로 라서 대다데 지라서 잠자한일 파티 아니 냠네 지라 규바데 지라 지금 야야야는 저도장 파티 와다다 라망가다 미네 어째 미고 또 어쩌자.
And now follows the dissolution of the merit field that we have generated, starting with the final figures that we placed in the merit field, being the Dharma protectors, dissolving into the grouping just above them of the Dakas and Dakinis. And it continues like this, dissolving the lower level, dissolving into the one just above it, until we get to the point of the grouping of our own teachers, our own gurus, and they all dissolve into the final figure in that section, being our own root guru, who remains there. Then the figures on the left and right of the central figure start to dissolve, beginning on both sides with the grouping of the Geluk lineage lamas dissolving into the figure of Lama Tsongkhapa, who dissolves into the groupings of the 3 schools of the Kadampa lineages, who in turn dissolve into respectively the profound view lineage gurus and the extensive practices lineage gurus, who in turn dissolve into the remaining figures of Manjushri and Maitreya, who remain in the merit field. And finally, at this point, the grouping of the consecrated practices lineage all dissolve upwards until they dissolve into the head of that grouping of the figure of Vajradhara. And so now we're left with the 5 remaining figures in the merit field, the 5 main figures.
라마 도도 창파 라마 딱가서 샤자 생길 파티 라마 도도 창 파티 아니 주보게 가서도 간다데 저도 차데 마티 아니 데네 가서데 랑게 디자 자외 라마데 아니 가서데 라마 도도 차게 다니가 가도 인터넷에서 삼성고 들었지.
And then the dissolution continues with the twin figures of Manjushri and Maitreya simultaneously moving into the center and dissolving into the central figure of Guru Munindra Vajradhara. And then the figure of Vajradhara descends and dissolves into the central figure of Guru Munindra Vajradhara. And finally, our own root guru, moves upwards to to be level with the heart center of the central figure and dissolves into the heart center of Guru Maninja Vajradhara.
맞아요. 아니 되네 가서 저거 가서 손대체 고시다 라마라 통화도 샹을 집에 주고다 라마라 통화도 샹을 안 되절로 보다 라마라 통화도 담주고다 라마라 통화도 샹을 쏘다 딱그때 기도고다 라마라 통화도 샹을 쏘다서 가자 그러고 라마라 통화도 주려고 라마라 통화도 잡나고다 라마라 통화도 샹을 쏘아 잡나 푸주다 쏘아대 되지.
And at this point then we offer what's known as the stake-like supplication from the miraculous book of the Garupas, which goes, "My most divine Guru, Lord of the four Kayas, I make petition to you, Shakyamuni Vajradhara. My most divine Guru, Lord of unimpeded Dharmakaya, I make petition to you, Shakyamuni Vajradhara. My divine Guru, Lord of blissful Sambhogakaya, I make petition to you, Munindra Vajradhara. My divine Guru, Lord of sundry Nirmanakayas, I make petition to you, Shakyamuni Vajradhara, etc."
다 지금 가서도 지금 현에 잡았더니 이제 샘 세직 받아도 공개이네 왔다 다부 소신 바다 올라면 소신 찾아 파티제 라면 삼다 아니 되네 아니 초 뒤잖아 아니 또 봐주고 저거다 미 왔더니잖아 아니 미버대 좀 대바이나 왔다 야고요래 아니 다게 미바 뭐 스토도 다 찍라 저도 또 레라도 그래 레라도 남쪽 하도 제도 또 가버도 다 시고지 차상지 파도 다 내가 세고 싶다 가버려 가서 내당 볼 가버릴 때 이내 되게 차상지 요 삼사지 아니 되네 라마 찍래 찍대 라마가들이 하면 되게 또 레라도 줘야지 그래서 콜레가 꾸먹고 개발도 왔습니다. 아니 아때네 되게 같이 찍대 약 찍고라대 아니 소프츠 스텝전 아니 뒤지 바장다 되게 대체 찍고 소프츠 스텝 그것도 믿고 또 스텝 받게 개발해야 되겠지.
And so that here it's very much advised to be able to use whatever skill we have at single-pointed focus, single-pointed concentration as possible to use it here. And that here it's understood that when we generate the extensive merit field, as we did at the beginning, it's quite difficult to keep all that in mind, and that especially at the outset. To get a clear picture, and that even at that point when it's quite murky for us, it's important for us to at least have the confidence that the entire merit field is present, is there, even if I can't visualize it clearly. And so then when we do the dissolution to reach the point of the 5 main figures, you can see how it can be a little more easy for the mind to get a picture of the 5 main figures. And then when that dissolution continues to be left with the main figure of Guru Maninja Vajradhara, again we can take the opportunity to get more single-pointed concentration on the last remaining figure in the merit field, who is in the embodiment of all the merit field anyway. But it becomes a little easier for the mind to remain focused and fixed on that single figure. And so it's very useful if we can recite the stake-like supplication and visualize the descending nectar light meditation. At the same time as maintaining that focus at this point.
답변은 single point 소리 지기는 피게 대유 삼삼 멤버전 나왔다가랑 셈샤잖아. 나왔다 시험으로 가야 마다오잖아. 나왔다가랑 셈샤샤야 돼.
And so that's it's important to distinguish what we mean by single-pointed meditation. It's not that it's something external outside that we are focusing on, but rather that which is an appearance in the mind. And that here we are simply focused exclusively on that which is appearing in the mind and disregarding any other distraction around.
다 피게 유효 삼사치도 any single point 돼요 말이야. single point에서 나왔다가랑 셈샤이지.
And so that's
나왔다가랑.
And so when we consider single-pointed meditation to be a concentration which is based on an external object out there somewhere, we're never going to get a single-pointed concentration. And that a single-pointed concentration refers to that which is arising internally in the mind, and simply the mere appearance to our mind is what we focus on, and that's all. We just maintain a focus just on that which is appearing in the mind.
아니 어디래지 아니 네가데 아니 중나 강충중 삼다 강충중.
And if possible, when it comes to single-pointed meditation, for example, in this case on a particular image of the Buddha, that we make it as small as possible. The smaller, the better.
같이 충나지. 아니 대야 아니 또 지고 지부터. 지고 wait. 지고 지고 또 내자.
And so that yet, even though it's very small, that it has some weight to it. This is said to be able to assist us in keeping the mind on the object. And indeed, it is also emanating kind of a light. So both of these aspects of weight and the dissipating of the spreading of the light from the object are directly addressing the two main obstacles to developing single-pointed concentration, namely mental sinking and mental excitement. So then when we have a kind of a steadiness and a clarity with our concentration on that appearance of the figure of the Buddha, and then we can start to focus on details such as the syllable Om at the crown. And again, this Om has this solidity, and it also is emanating light, and we simply move our focus slightly just to focusing on the Om. And then at the throat, the syllable A, again focusing on that. And then at the heart center, the syllable Hong. And the Om is white, the A is red, and the Hong is blue.
And also dikbataya dan de chedu chigi inane to tom seseta sebo mege and ji mikwa yabo shama to so su dikbetuwa dikbatu inte and ji Om rala me omle wese pa to me batune and rang de le Om ji samlata and rang Om de la tim so rang da rang ta simje tam jo Om la pa tim so samsa cha teme pe rang lu kwana sabe dikbata nani ni tencho so never chaso and ji sanje je kui and because da ka je jilap tamje 중수 삼사 what the 가고 luka we sri ka chaso samsa cha.
And so when we're trying to develop a single-pointed meditation like this, we can often find it very difficult. They can't get a steady focus, that it's blurred, we're getting sleepy, we have this mental sinking or constantly getting distracted and so on. And that's all of this is due to our own negativities and obscurations. And so here you can actually use, in the course of this kind of meditation, kind of a purification process here through focusing exclusively just on the Om at the crown, this white Om, and that the light can emanate from that Om, and indeed a replica of it can come to our own crowns, and the light emanating from that Om can penetrate through our crown and indeed completely pervade all of our body, and that it eradicates all of these negativities and obscurations and anything that's causing an obstacle to our concentration at this point. And that this particularly is said to give us the blessing of the Buddha's body, since the Om is a representative of the Buddha's body.
Range da beda sojoba majimba lemba loyam laswa setiam serap ngamana la chebege and tiba mambu yore and
And so these then can specifically target negativities that are associated with physical negativities, such as killing, physically harming, stealing, sexual misconduct, whether occurred in whether these have been engaged in this life or in all previous lives, and that this targets these and helps to purify the debilitating effects of these negativities. And that and then we can concentrate on the red ah at the throat, and again a replica of that can come to our own throat and dissolve into there, and that here we concentrate on the negativities that we have engaged in through speech, and that these include lying, harsh speech, divisive speech, and an idle gossip or useless talk. And when you reflect on that, you realize, oh my goodness, so many of these negativities, even in this life, that we can remember. And indeed, we take into consideration that obviously we have so many of these kinds of negativities from previous lives as well. And so again, through the concentration here and through the light, we are purifying all of these obscurations and negativities.
setila tsanga manala ta tayaba ta dige be nani tencho samsajana yi ko sa tipa dige nani tencho so ta yabu shi wo so na gaoko range kosa de de paso yese trene ta yabu shi so ana sanje ge tuge en chila malu wa so so wa tena ko ma.
And so at each point here, of course, we pause at the end to really rejoice that, through the Om we have being able to deal with the negativities of body, through the negativities of speech, and to really rejoice that great work has been done here, that I really managed to purify all these negativities. With the hung at the heart of the figure that we are focused on, again the light rays emanate, and that into us, and then replica hung dissolves into us at the heart, the center, and from that light rays emanate out, and they purify all the negativities we have engaged in through our mind, mental negativities, namely covetousness, malicious intent, wrong view that we have accumulated in this life and in countless ways in previous lives as well, and that we feel that the Hong blue light is really purifying all of these negativities, and again at the end of it we rejoice that we have been relieved of these particular negativities.
대화를 써 상내서 하 대화를 써를 미 상내서 하를 미 어디를 전 다가제 데르제 미제 텔레비에서 저도 다 강갈리에서 저 저도 소하 강갈리에서 저도 다 바차의 저만 장시 다 수상서 저 어디를 전 어느 산제 투기리에 연대 탐제 나라서 선제 탐제기를 중수 선서 안 유도 쪽에 바차 켜바지 샤수 서어디를 고마시.
And that we can further add to the syllables of Om Hong by visualizing the syllable So at the navel and Ha at the secret chakra, and then engage in the light actually emanating from all the 5 syllables. And this is to deal with the imprints of those, the propensities of the negativities that we have accumulated, like stains left. And these help to eradicate all of the imprints of these negativities from our system, and that we have this certainty at the end of it that, this is so important for us to being able to quickly really accumulate and cultivate the qualities of enlightenment. So we talk about when we talk about obscurations, there are 2 distinct categories of obscurations. The first are the deluded obscurations, which refer to dealing with all of that which keeps us in cyclic existence, and that the faults of cyclic existence and so on, related to cyclic existence. And the second category are known as the obscurations to omniscience, which are those which are blocking us from the attainment of enlightenment itself. So if we can, really use these techniques and use these methods and make it part and parcel of our thinking, it will be extremely helpful and beneficial for us. There will be no such thing as loneliness for us. We won't be friendless in any way. In fact, it's even more beneficial if we are friendless, because we have more time to engage in useful activity like this, and that we won't be wasting any time. Therefore, we'll be making this precious life very meaningful. So that if we have friends, of course, we can associate with these friends in a way that is in harmony with the Dharma. And if we haven't friends, then we can engage in activities that are in harmony with the Dharma. So it makes no difference. We can still make our life meaningful. And so it's all about being able to know, skillful in the way to use one's own mind, one's own consciousness. Because if we haven't got that skill, it really makes no difference. If we have friends, it's only a cause for causing more trouble. And if we haven't got friends, then it's also just a cause for making more trouble for ourselves. And so that it's all about really knowing how to make use of our mind, and that by being skilled in that, we can really access the tremendous power of consciousness, the tremendous power of mind. But without that control, without that skill, then we're in a very dangerous situation, and it can be quite disastrous for us. And so that the power of the mind is indeed, there's probably no better way of demonstrating it than to just reflect that it's some 2,500, 600 years since the Buddha walked on this planet. And indeed, it's a great deal of time since great figures such as Nagarjuna, Sangha, and all the great Nalanda Pandits and masters were on this planet. And yet, through their intelligence and being able to use their mind in the most skillful way, what they have left to us still brings so much tremendous benefit to so many living beings. And this, I think, is a proper demonstration of the power of the mind. And that here also that we need to be able to make an unmistaken choices with regard to how we make use of our mind in the same way, and take them as an example. Take these great figures of the past as an example. And if we want to find any hero in the world to follow, to see as an example, you can do no better than to take these great figures from the past.
그래서 히로데 녀몽라 갑대 작은 책 히로 제버. 녀몽라 갑대 바체 녀몽 그 온도 녀몽의 샤완도 조금 히로처럼 역다요래.
So this is making the unmistaken choices with regard to who we categorize as hero. Hero should be the one who is able to help us, to protect us from the mental afflictions, and that rather than the heroes who simply seem to promote the mental afflictions, that is not really a genuine hero. So making unmistaken choices becomes very crucial. So, it's amazing when we look into these texts as referred to from these great figures, from the scholars and great masters of the past, that their focus in writing this material was, not just for the benefit of Buddhists or for the benefit of those in India at the time, but their objective was to find ways in which to be of benefit to all sentient beings, and even that concept at that time is something quite extraordinary, isn't it? That there are people around who had such a big mind to be able to encompass all living beings and to try to do something for the benefit of all of them.
And the bandit ticket, Shanda Midas, the Ponzo, Jabachitanti. Because they lost one name, but Jabas, Sanjay soon as what the Jigmare. Jabaj regret Japan Sama to Mendo. What the Jabachik do? That is what starts what do.
And indeed, and the way in which these particular pandits went about their business was the most extraordinary aspect, in that they insisted on analysis, of being able to only establish the validity of what was said through valid reasoning, and that they had to engage in constant checking and analysis and discursive reasoning in order to establish whether something was valid and worth keeping. It wasn't simply that they had heard these teachings from the Buddha, or that they were told that they came down from the Buddha. This wasn't good enough for them. Just simply because the Buddha said it wasn't enough. That they had to establish the validity of what was said for themselves through valid reasoning. And I think this has really stood the test of time.
어제 대대 인베서 배나가서 이래 때나고도 배나 출루 심바된데 망부지라 출루 코라스 나고라 어느 저기 코란조 domba도 숭이 이미 막 시부 좀 것도 와. 다 남배 나라 제바 이나 믹스에게 대과 챔피언 나로라 아니 장에게 야와치에 도단도 여바 인자 강내문도 와. 강내문도 와. 그래서 어디다 그래서 산제가 숭이네 아니 지금 리베 려바 보고도 뭐도 아니 잡된 참아도 뭐도 제바 정도 아니 잡된 참아면도는 아니 디 아니 산제가 되자 찍 말에 니 말에 타이어 감도면 봐 나서 와 인사 아니 감 된대지를 좀 송아래 되고 여기 내주 말에서 리베 때라 밥도 것도 와. 리베 때라 장에게 야와치에 도도 와. 와다디 내가 수제도 와. 다들 그거 쉬우지래.
And so that I think this is a very, very fortunate component of Buddhism, and the fact of what has come down to us from the past, how these great pandits and scholars adopted this methodology of establishing what was definitively said by the Buddha and what was an interpretive teaching, knowing that the Buddha gave many, many teachings spontaneously according to the particular audience and the disposition of the audience and what they could and could not understand, etc. And so this became a very, very important aspect, and indeed again has been maintaining a great harmony within the whole Buddhist world. And if we look at the contrast with other spiritual traditions who have had a particular book coming from their particular main teachers, and that they haven't got that process of what is definitive and what is interpretative within those teachings. And as such, this has caused tremendous conflict down through the centuries, and a lot of a splitting up of the different spiritual traditions. And even in one tradition, you can see many divisions based on disagreements over what was said or what wasn't said, and so on. And so the problem there is that it wasn't established based on this valid reasoning, that they weren't collated, the teachings, in that way from the outset, and therefore this problem arises. Yes. And so that's the problem when one eschews the validity that comes from valid reasoning, then one is left to establish the righteousness of one's own point of view only through physical power, and we can see how this has played out over the centuries in many different religions, that whoever has the most physical power is able to destroy their enemy. They're the ones that are right. And it's quite sad in many ways, isn't it? That it's fair to say that spiritual traditions are normally founded in order to relieve or even to eradicate suffering, and yet through the lack of valid reasoning, or being able to establish the teachings based on valid reasoning, that often is the case that religions, that there are characters within the religions who have created more suffering rather than less. And therefore it's very important from our point of view to appreciate and have respect for all beings, knowing that they all have different personalities, different dispositions, and they will have an affinity to different presentations as well. And so you have to see that that spiritual traditions and the instructions and the instructions within the spiritual traditions is to be seen as medicine, and that as such there is a particular medicine which is most beneficial for a particular disease or sickness, isn't it? That we can't present one all-pervasive medicine as being the ultimate and best, and that it can't be any other. that if it's medicine, yeah, it's going to benefit a particular set of a particular diagnosis, and that this is the way spiritual instruction should be seen as well. And so then we invite the central figure of the merit field that is left to come to a prepared lotus, sun and moon disc mandala seat that we have prepared on our crown, with the invocation verse, "O glorious and precious root Guru, come take your lotus and moon seat placed here on my crown. Keep me safe in your kindness. Bestow on me the attainments of your body, speech and mind." And we recite that 3 times with the replica coming to our crown, and then seated on our crown. And at the conclusion of the 3rd recitation, we have the certainty of their remaining with us until we ourselves attain enlightenment. Then we make the offering of the 7 limb prayer practice and the mandala offering. And so that we have been looking at the instruction to attain enlightenment. To attain the mind of enlightenment based on the 7 cause and effect instruction. And that we have looked how to initially generate the mind of equanimity as a preliminary, and then engaged in the instruction proper by establishing all sentient beings as having been one's mother as the first cause, then second cause of recalling the great kindness of the mother, and thirdly remembering that it's not just enough for us to recall the great kindness, but that should inspire us to want to repay that kindness to all mother sentient beings. So we have looked at these first 3 causes of the 6th cause and effect instruction. So that it is said that when we have cultivated these first 3 causes well, that the mind which looks on all other sentient beings with great affection will naturally arise, and this then produces the 4th cause, and that is of affectionate love, and that it's a logical progression when we have first of all established all sentient beings as having been one's mother, and then we reflect on the tremendous kindness, the great sacrifice, the wonderful commitment of a mother in bringing up her child, and then from that appreciation of the mother's kindness, the natural sense of wanting to do something to, to show our appreciation, to repay that kindness. And so if we do this correctly, we will start to see all sentient beings more in a very much more affectionate light, and that we will be far more invested in their well-being in order to take every opportunity to bring happiness to them, to relieve them of suffering. And that it's something that we try to instill in our thinking so that it is continuous 24/7, rather than the situation present where when we're in the mood in the morning, we might feel like pleasant towards our partners or our parents or anybody else, but then in the afternoon we don't feel that, or in the morning we're not in the mood for it, and in the afternoon we are. And so this is kind of showing that we're very much engaged in life in order to just look after ourselves. There's a self-cherishing aspect very much at play there. Whereas here we're trying to engage in or cultivate an attitude of mind which is universal and which is unconditional and which is undiscriminating.
And Geshe de ne deba do ne deba mundu di samlo de member che ne jeba de pendo do mundu di Geshe bo shujure so deba yena che deba mena ma che jorba andi so Geshe bo shujure do do deba yumen di Geshe mo ma Geshe de pendo do mundu died.
So that we also should change the entire focus for why we engage in any action from, I want to do this or I don't want to do this. And we should put aside those particular questions and substitute it with, if I do this, is this going to be beneficial? Or is it not going to be beneficial? So we need to really start thinking in those ways more often.
This case, so dewa yume jena da tene nyomu xiangwan shu chemu zhou re. Nyomu xiangwan kasana ran nyomu ran sem ge xiangwan zu sem nyomu be xiangwan du zhuo de dan da. Mo zo sem ran to bio mar wa. Ani ko tak ta zhou ma re. Ta ge chi shu de ko de dewa yume de ge chi mo de pen do do mo de ge chi zhou da ba yin na. Ani so jem ho do mo go chi je tu re.
So not to proceed based on what we want or don't want, but to proceed based on what is beneficial or if it's not beneficial, not to engage in it. And so this is the way we should demarcate how we should act and when we should act. And understand that if we're proceeding on the basis of what we want and don't want, we're very much falling into the hands of mental affliction, because this takes over our mind, and indeed we become more a slave to our mental affliction because of that. And indeed we lose any sort of independence of mind or freedom of mind by operating in that way.
직전에 가서 직전에 지게가 검시 또서 인식을 했잖아. 나랑 통화로 와. 아니 제 망자 수수 대화 유명한 소리 제적도 와. 대화 있는 제 대화면은 맞지. 어때? 직전에 디 코랑 검시 인그래. 근데 이내다 개치슈대 내서 제 개치슈대 제대 표도도 문도 시야라. 어디 또 디체도 저거이나 또 배주 야가 땅 도사로 와.
And so I've noticed that this notion of choosing our actions based on either we want this or we don't want this is something which is a very common and very strong way of thinking amongst Westerners, Western minds. This is something I've noticed since I've been in the West, that it seems to be the kind of way in which we often make our decisions. I want to do this, I don't want to do this. And so this is can be problematic, I think. I think it's much better if we can substitute the idea of acting based on what is beneficial If it's beneficial, do it. If it's not beneficial, don't do it. This is probably a much better way to use the mind and to habituate the mind too.
가서 배나 말아서 제대에 지 제바이나 엔 것도 제일 가부도 된 것도 와. 배나 지게 검시라. 배나 소소지 지게요나. 그럼 지게 가부도 된 것도 와. 이내 직전에 가고 인고 그 말은 먼저 편도이나. 이내도 될거 직전에 리숑게 저당 또 로가면 돼. 그래서 직제 배는 예서 직제는 걔가 뒤에 가부도 된 것도 와. 직전에 가고 인고 그 말을 같이 편도 두모도 아니 용적으로 그래서 뒤 검시 또 로가르지.
So it's really a change of emphasis, really, in that we often do what we do, and thereafter we kind of can conclude, I really like that.
No,
I like what I've done. But also that we're doing what we do sometimes so that maybe somebody else might like what we have done. If I do this, maybe Genna will like what has been done. But what we shouldn't really be doing that. We shouldn't have that in as part of our consideration. What we should be totally focused on is that what I am doing is beneficial, and the question around it is it beneficial what I am about to do, and that has it been beneficial what I have done, and that this is kind of the way in which we should judge our actions. And of course, in order to have a good shot at doing what is beneficial, and it being seen as beneficial afterwards by ourselves, requires valid reasoning, isn't it? It should be underpinned by a logical process.
And the Pendo 무튼의 제도에서 좀 그래. 경쟁토나 무튼의 제도에서. 되면은 대화여자 알고 좋아지로.
Yes, and also that when our actions are underpinned by that valid reasoning, there's a good chance that we will be able to continuously act like that and make decisions like that. Whereas if we're operating just on our own what we want and don't want, then it changes like the wind, isn't it?
Then 잡아 건순데서 란제 마다고 이도고 강자지를 미네 데라 사메기 대와 다 그래서 사메기에서 대와 달라 사제게 대와 점에 민도스다 사메 대와다 가려 사제게 대와 점에 민도스 다다 대와로 받대 다다 대와리에 대야 아니 동에도 주네 좋았다 맞아 주에 동에 왔다 주에 동에 대와 진짜 당가서 점을미 배쳐와 대와 주제는 주에 동에 저기 동에 당신 동에 다 대화시 되네 베베 동동 제자 치마 녀석의 동에 주주부터 다 약도 삼았다나 주당 댕게라 라완도 주바 매바 인자 주대 깨네 다 라완도 주바 매자 아니 가서데 깨네 중앙인 바자 다 동에게 주 동에 주나 줄라 때네 다동 대화도 동에서 줄라 때네 요구여자 아니 그 릭트베 줄라 릭트베 대화 요구여자 아니 그러나 대화로 좀 깔에 잡대와데 아니 동에 줄이 주주부터 세디야 예신돌다 세디라 칼레시우자 두베 동에와 저와 마도 양다베 대와시 때는민도 소다 되서.
And so that the situation when we look towards how to meditate on love is to bring to mind someone like our mother who we are extremely fond of, and focus on them knowing that they not only are not able to experience any uncontaminated happiness, but also even the contaminated happiness is beyond them, and that they wish for happiness, and that it only arrives in the form of the suffering of change. And this is kind of like really pointing out that indeed much of what we would consider as happiness in this world is in fact just the suffering of change, that because it is contaminated, and that also that with regard to these are fond mothers who are striving, wishing for this happiness, but in the end, because they are unaware of how to create the causes of that happiness and to avoid the causes of suffering, they will end up in the lower realms, and indeed engage in just the causes that lead to the suffering of the lower realms. And so in this life they are inundated by exhaustion, suffering, frustration, tiredness, and not only that, but they have absolutely no chance of really experiencing any pure happiness.
Dena deni dewa da dewe juda dena jimta dewa den dewe de gula dena yosa juda dena jimaru san dewa da dewe juda dena demba juji an demba dewa dewe juda dena demba jao ana deda chenno bade ana da lamale chingila suta dagi chigi deda chenno bade lamale chingila dosus an soata an lamale kule tu chena ngwe sede je jum toma tiba da tiba tansi nyamja je keba do ya dedege jamba pita boji kiri ke opa ju tiba da tiba chaso sansa an ko to chila topsu sa wode ko bashe.
And so then we make the supplication by thinking how wonderful if all mother sentient beings like this had happiness and indeed the true causes of happiness. May they have happiness and the true causes of happiness. I should be the one to help them to engage in the happiness and the true causes of happiness. O Guru Deity, please bless me to be able to make this so. And so then the figure of our Guru Deity on our crown emanates the 5 colored nectar lights which come down through our crown and all other sentient beings, and streaming through our body mind continuum purifies all of the obscurations and negativities that we have accumulated in since beginningless time in general, and in particular it purifies the particular obscurations to our being able to generate this cause of genuine love and generating the fully qualified love in our continuum.
다 대zam마에 저거 때도 되게 용해게는 그래서 다 되게 용해게 쭉쭉다 지금 요거도 와 고조다 로바치다 카메라 뭐 보이고도 와 어떻게 아니 되네 다 발매 심전데 아니 먼저 대화 중에 초학계 뭐 동해 중에 초학계 분도 와다 되게 돼요 고tin체 마게 심전이 맞아 다 세다른 뭐마저 잡으면도 고되게 돼 고tin체 마게 심전에서 되게 되래야 삼로 되나시 따나 되나 onko 되게 미변 참바지 계속도 와. 아니 들려야 뒤에 버찬데 소체. 되네 다또 칼레카가 잡데 라데 잡아 약고 매긴티. 들려 약고 중샤서 수수 먹기 버찬. 들려 동해에서 호다 약고 중샤 기분 좋은 자대 좀도. 다들 또 가요. 다 들려 믹스게 셈잖아. 아니 되게 되게 저기 대외 주 가서 또다 동해 줄라 몽단 아니 모두는 동해 용해 주 그래 두고도. 아니 들려 미스 받겠네. 요거도 왔다. 들려 몇 잡아 고매지. 어디다 아니 어디다 타나 타다 되네잖아 아니 되네 아니 소소기다 같이 배나가서 소소 칠레 유베다 사자든데 배나 빅토리아 소라다 다들 뉴사트웨어 어디다 삼다는 오스트레일리아 용소 삼다는 데다 안 잠을이돼요 안 잠을 지워 타자요 다가네 감송게 심제 탐제 상당요 그러와 와 되와 순간 숨에 감사 어디다 삼다잖아 안 되게 건가라 가서대 잡아 검수시 어디다
And so then we gradually ratchet up the reach of our focus on love in this particular meditation. And as has been described here, we are looking on those to whom we have a natural fondness, like our mother, and we can include here our relatives, friends, and those who we are on very good relationships with. And that when we are talking about the love that we're trying to generate towards them, it's not simply a case of, but definitely including, but not simply a case of providing, the necessities of life, such as food and drink and clothing and shelter and so on, but really trying to establish the right causes to really experience happiness and the causes of happiness and so on. And so this is the way in which we demonstrate this love, and that we want them to have every happiness and the causes of that happiness. And so when we generate that sense of love towards those whom we are fond of, we really want to gain a sense of a real experiential understanding of that, to really feel it, so that it really counts in our lives. And then when and only when we have gained that level of experiential understanding, that we can shift our focus slightly towards those who are neutral in our lives, that we don't share any particular feeling towards each other, whether negative or positive, and yet we now keep them in our focus. They are within the purview of our generation of love, and want again to think how wonderful it would be and so on, that they had the happiness and the causes of happiness. May they have that. May I be the one to do that. Oh Guru Deity, please bless me to be able to make this so. And then when we again have gained a sense of a real true experience of what that really feels like, then we can shift our focus again to where it's now getting a little more difficult, because we want to bring to mind those with whom we have difficult relations, that they are not that fond of us and we're not that fond of them, and they might be regarded as like a category of enemy, or those who we share a sense of aversion, mutual aversion, and that here it becomes like important, and that we overcome the kind of jealousy that we might feel if they are doing well, and that the joy that we sometimes might feel spontaneously if they actually suffer misfortune. And so we want to do something about that, and that it's necessary to really turn that around completely if we want to develop a sense of love towards these enemies. And here we have to take into consideration, that they may be engaged in any kind of negativities like we are ourselves, and to find that the suffering that they are suffering and the suffering that they will suffer in the future is unbearable to us, and we are deeply concerned, and we want to develop a sense of love towards them, to place them rather than in any kind of suffering, in every kind of happiness, and to present the causes of that happiness as well. And so when we develop this sense of love towards those who are close, those who are neutral, those who are in the category of enemy, then we spread that out to all the sentient beings that we know in this suburb, in this city, in Victoria, in New South Wales, in Australia, in the world itself, and beyond that, to take into consideration all the three realms of existence, from the desire realm, the form and the formless realm as well, and to indeed include all sentient beings in our focus.
단다 소소다 레와카고 말 나를 디기 중나선 잡아 공부 요마데 이나 사이드 에펙트 아웃 가르서나 아니 강에 컨디션에 잡아 공부 세트고 요래 벤 세트고 요래 어디든 뭐래 어디든 잡아 공부 간자 저 소소라 저 너바키 괜찮아 너바키 괜찮아 잡아 공부 얘나 콘도게 두고 요 말에 벤 너바키 괜찮아 콜책 두자다 소소 너바키 괜찮아 다 그때 유튜브에 마음발 동네 용에 유튜브도 산 아니 저 가서 동엘 때 가서 줄때는 요거는 주메기면 요거 맞다 유튜브 사도 그 유용수 유게 용수 전에 동엘 요거로 봐. 안 될 때는 미스베르네 지금 가서 동엘 미스베르 게두고도나 안 들으면 뭐 콘도 게두고 말봐. 제가 그러면 콘도 맞잖아 무드는 그 욕다시에다 독자지에데 매우 차도 그러. 매우 차도. 뭐지 갑자기 콘도 독자지나 파 독자지라면 그 매우 차도 돼. 저거 맞지 망도 저거도. 당보잖아. 그 릭무트 그 존재를 잡아야 뭐 인상. 어떤 간자제 노트 매버 소에게다 탑시 약속돼. 그 잡아 거미에. 어떤 소바다 잡아다 되게 들어와. 잡아다 닝제다 되게 돼.
And so that's again, we need to also make sure that our motivation for meditating on love in this way is pure, that it can't be in order for myself to be happy, that it's really focused on the happiness of others, and that indeed one's own happiness will occur as a kind of a side effect anyway. But we should be clear that the focus is on others first, front and central. And that this is important because we need to take into consideration all possible interactions with others, and to not lose that sense of affection and deeply held interest in the well-being of others. And so, for example, when it comes to others harming us, whether physically or through speech, that we must ensure that we do not retaliate in any way, and that we have to put what they are doing into the context of the fact that they are creating causes that will inevitably lead to suffering in the future, because this is the reality of the law of cause and effect, that if one creates a negative cause, that when the causes and conditions come together, that will inevitably arise as suffering in the future. And that's something that we have to be concerned with this person. We find that, in fact, unbearable, indeed unacceptable. And so we don't want to add to that store of suffering. We want to respond to that harm with love, and that to hold them in that love and not in any way retaliate. And that because if we retaliate, again, the law of cause and effect is inviolable in this case, and that will mean that only more trouble will ensue. That's inevitable according to the law of cause and effect. And so we need to, in fact, use love in response to that kind of harm, and that, in fact, is what will eradicate the harm.
내가 먼저 잠바콤 인제 검스도 그 검도 에베는 너바케바 이네 그 너바케게 꽤 너바케들라 아니 저 콘도 셰원도 마도제 잠바콤 얘네 양 코란게 쩨바 마티바들라 양 코란 저거 그저데 거저 아니 마티바 임바데 잠바데 쩨베 코네 아니 코 뒤주 딱다지라 뒤주 만오와지라 아니 코 딱다 양 제시 답도 맞아 그 강사다 쩨바니데 예와 체체 제 안쪽에 매바 소탑라야 거기 탑시 가리 야가도 대체 저거로 와.
And so that
잡아도 니제서 셰르가 좋아다 저거면도.
And so when it comes to our practice of love and our practice of compassion, particularly in these cases where another is engaged in harming us or anybody else, that we must combine the elements of love and compassion with wisdom, and that means that not only do we not respond or retaliate with anger in situations like this, but we are very careful to distinguish between the person and their behavior, so that in the future, later on, we don't just kind of like sit motionless in a situation like that, but that in sometime later we can approach that person, and when the timing is correct, when we are really coming from a mind of love and a mind of compassion, that we can explain what was incorrect or what was untoward about their behavior, and indeed be of maximum benefit in that way. And that's how to proceed with love that is infused with wisdom.
다체 데라 잠불링 발라 잠바 콤바이나 데라 고에 콜리지 개부 용해 답나 저 지다 잠바 콤네 데데 용해 라와다 자 용마데 이네 다 데데 유튜브 두고 요레스 고요와 에 링니 라케나 데라 고에 오에 아트탄 콜리지 개부 숨라케나 데라 고에 콜리지 우그 콜리지 개부 링시 라케나 데라 고에 세제 콜리지 개부도 동숨라 개바나 하여 오고 청발죠 Dong Chungo La, Dong Niva Bamala Kena, Dela Moya, Tapochu. And Casa Namga Tachabe, Kajabian, Simja Tamjala Mina, Simja Tamjala Mina, Kiva Yenane, and a double Zoba Sanja, Mimba, Shentu Miyurson, so what.
And then it speaks about the benefits of the meditation or habituating to love. And so, as we have pointed out, that we have no deliberate motivation for benefit for ourselves, yet these are the listed benefits of love. And that if we have generated love towards all the beings in this southern continent, that we can become an empowered wheel-turning king in the future. And that if we encompass two of these continents in our love, then we are said to become what's known as a copper wheel-turning king. If we take in three continents, we become an empowered silver wheel-turning king. And if we take in all four continents in our love, then we become a gold empowered wheel-turning king. And again, it says if we take in love for what is the 3,000 world systems, we become a powerful Brahma, kind of Lord. And if we take in the lower 1,000 world systems in our love, or have the middling 2,000 world systems as the focus of our love and generate love in that way, we become the ruler of those worlds. If we generate love for all sentient beings pervading space, we become none other than a fully enlightened Buddha.
Chile Dagir Chewa in Jasa Jambe to Lala Ibe Nemarkena, Shella Penuche Pena, Gebu Jambe to Dabu Yinsun, Tena Sixam Le Majeja Ranja Sue, Chodo Joa Yins. And Jomde de Jessa Dujiwa, Dunjur, Jambe Denge Tinge, Dua Yimbesa, Jenga Shena, Nurum Palasa, Nedena. Paruba job at Tablasa, Jabasam Yimba Yinson, Paruba job, the Rangi, nobody getting nobody members of Tab actually the Jabacomides. So, get there in a Jaba Jawa Jawa Mintova Rangi, Ning Sang Sang Duba Yinsons. The Imperial Shini Jawa Tati, Damni to Choba, Nama, Pame, Jiniji as a Gejo Nalati, Dachebe, Surnam, Tala, Tanda Chem, Charmipu, Jedam, Gobuluja, Yidewatan, Demanta. Duda Sunji Misuda, Beva Meva, Yontoda, Jamju, Yunde Gedenta, Gede, Trower, Majuja, Sambechi, George, Shesu, Sumbada.
And then I said in general, whatever we do, it follows the law of cause and effect. So the particular cause is in line with the result that will ensue. However, it says just to the very power of love itself is that it can have extra benefit for others that arises naturally. And it gives the example of the actions of King Maitri Bala. And that, and then it says that even if one just uses words of love itself, they have the power to give supreme protection. And again follows the very example of Shakyamuni Buddha himself, who tamed 1,000 million demons due to the power of his meditative concentration on love. And following that as well, we have a quote from Geshe Konchok speaking to Nyokrumpa, who says, "When you consider it carefully, the only way to destroy enemies is by love." And it's saying here that even when we hear just the word love, it has some sort of pacifying or delighting effect on the mind when we see it as something genuine. And that with regard to the benefits as well, there's another quote. It says, "However much you worship filling the world's systems and make offerings to holy persons, that merit cannot be compared to a fraction of the meritorious result of love. And that comes from the King of Meditation Sutra. And likewise, again from Arya Nagarjuna, he says, they will have mental ease and much happiness. Poison and weapons will not harm them. They will achieve their aims effortlessly. Though such a person might not be liberated, they will achieve love's 8 cardinal virtues and be born in Brahma's world. And likewise, it makes this comparison. The merit of giving the 300 types of food every day in the 3 times cannot compare with the merit gained from meditating a short while on love. And just emphasizing a tremendous pervasive benefit, really, of being able to establish and generate love. And so I was saying, yes, that if we are in a position to offer so many delicious foods, like as it's been described here, and in such a continuous way to many, there is the danger that it can be accompanied by, mental affliction as well, like getting very proud of what you're doing, isn't it? Whereas if you're generating love, it's very difficult for pride to exist in the same mind as love. And of course, then after you've offered the food, you have to pay for it. So you have to look at your bank account and say, "Oh my God, this is so expensive. Was it worth it?" Yeah. But when you meditate on love, that's priceless. So that's it's really, I really implore you to make every effort to generate these minds of love, these minds of compassion in the mind, so that whoever we see is the object for my love, the object for my compassion. And that when I make prayers like to benefit all sentient beings, this is all sentient beings, those who I see on a daily basis in all times, and to really have the habit of interacting with love, with compassion like that, so that even in our dreams, then we have the chance to practice like that in our dreams, and that we don't even have to think about love or compassion when we meet another, that it is automatically our whole way of being. And so, like, maybe we can compare it to, that when the person we dislike comes to mind, it's automatic, this sense of discomfort, isn't it? Or if we happen to see them, immediately dislike arises in our mind, or hear of their name mentioned, we have this negative feeling. It's almost spontaneous. And so what you need to do is to develop the sense of love spontaneous like that. That whoever comes to mind, that you automatically have this automatic sense of love, closeness, investment in their well-being, and compassion towards them. So you have this kind of sense of spontaneity, love spontaneously arising, like this.
다들 가서 좀제 먹고 삼로당다 좀제 삼로당당다 아니 뭐냐 전에 랍 가서 제와 잡아 검 거에 좀제 약보 통나 아니 장수를 넣어 봐.
And this is very possible if we are able to back up our meditations on love using many different reasonings based on the valid reasoning technique of really supporting what we're trying to do with that logical valid reasoning, and that we can certainly then develop that sense of love spontaneously and limitlessly.
그래, 가서 마가서들 남자 먹게 받자다 코란게 소소고 되어 매게 가리나다 식배주다는 가르쳐봐이나 디 따로라 숙습을 이해돼요. 좀세 뒤로다. 좀세 뒤로와. 왔다 따랑게 그래서 로이 상에 쳐되게다 다 연대 초망보네 좀세 망보 삼로다거나 다 디네 딜레 톱차 딜레 니버자 디다다 로록세서도 와. 추이돼 봐지라.
And so that we can examine that the idea of this sense of aversion arising for a particular person that we dislike, and that wonder how it's so automatic in our system. That it's because we have reflected on them and what they did to us or what they said to us, and nurtured it as a grudge using many reasonings. That's why it stays in our mind. That's why it so automatically arises when we hear their name or see them. And so that's the process, the power of reasoning is also evident there. So if it works for that way, in a negative sense, we have to make sure that we use the power of the mind to establish good reasoning on the positive side. And that when we establish love in that way, really firmly based on a solid foundation of reasoning, that we can make that our automatic response when any being comes to mind. So leave it there for today. And so then we leave it there for today. We'll just finish our meditation by bringing to mind again that we have Guru Maninja Vajradhara on our crown, and now we prepare a seat for that Guru at our heart center by establishing an upturned 8-petaled lotus, and that we understand that the lotus is symbolic of the mind of renunciation, which understands that all cyclic existence is in the nature of suffering, and even the happiness that we experience here is in the nature of suffering, and it's that sense of definite emergence, wanting to gain liberation from that, that is the mind of renunciation. And so that then the lotus is symbolic of renunciation, and on top of that we have the sun disk. And so when we speak about the I want to attain liberation from cyclic existence, we have to ask, where is that I? And that we in thinking about that I of lacking any objective existence and being merely imputed by thought, we are dealing with the mind of wisdom, and that is symbolized by the sun disk. And then the thought of that I which is not even established inherently or objectively, even at the atomical level, is the I wanting to attain the state of enlightenment in order to benefit all sentient beings, and that's the mind of enlightenment, or bodhicitta, and that's symbolized by the moon disk, which sits on top of the sun and lotus mandala seat.
lama shajas tuando chante and jibon ma chenjan but it's a lama rambucha dagi ninga bemeta kaja kusudo jo mutu tatu so san jibon ma wegran jama chune tawe kaso pe nibe kaso shu sube kaso tendu shuna sanje ko mama to pa to shu samsaji.
And then we consider the figure of the Guru Maninja Vajradhara at our crown and make that invocation, inviting the Guru to sit at our on our lotus, sun and moon disk seat at our heart, with the invocation verse, O glorious and precious root Guru, come take your lotus and moon seat placed here at my heart. Keep me safe in your kindness, bestow on me the attainments of your body, speech and mind. Again, 3 times. With the first, the figure enters through our crown chakra down into the central channel. In the second, makes that journey, and on the third recitation, we feel that they have arrived and are seated there steadfast until we ourselves attain enlightenment.
And then that ning bema da ma kaso na ni ne da ne ne and de da ka do ji ga bu zeng ba che ga ji ga ma ji ka so da dam lu so da jap shap chi wo de che and de ta ga do and je me me je ka so ko da de ta ga do o ma a yi wo ri ri o ma so as de ne ji ge nga je ka sa de ali ko de ne and kali o mo ka ka sa da da pa wo ya ro sha ka sa ja so de ne and de ga o mo ye da ma he do ta wa da ka da ha ye de to ma sha ma ne so de ge de ge de ko de ge ko de ju sam sa che.
And then the 8 petals of the lotus fold over the figure of Guru Maninja Vajradhara at our heart, and it's sealed at the very top with a semi-white Vajra, and then it is surrounded, circled by the Sanskrit vowels moving in a clockwise direction, the Sanskrit consonants moving in an anti-clockwise direction, and the mantra of dependent origination moving in a clockwise direction.
And then that rang ninga ning yuso and 가서 라마 통화도 찬다 텔레 웨세트나 랑게 지원에 강티가 바로 웨세트네 되는 가서 다랑게 통화면 디버터 개와다는 저 가서다 류교 탐제장 류마 예수 교다제장 아니 다가는 생각 저 아니 류게 내 나사다 최초부터 받체 내다서 강에 가려봐 되게 봐 장소 상사자 다가는 이제 자 롱틸레교 조직 커머니 봐 되게 다 말 개발도야 아니 저 가서다 뉴르도 상게 고마토발라 아니 가서 됐다 지금 탐에게 나시 가고 요래 아니 탐에게 나시 그 탐제 맞잖아 가나다제 다바람자 바지 차도가 중수 섬사체.
And so then from within that petaled lotus, the figure of Guru Maninja Vajradhara emanates rays of light which permeate throughout our entire body, from the crown of our head to the tips of our toes, and that indeed every cell of our body is relieved of all obscurations and negativities of body, speech and mind that we have accumulated, that we have all propensities for illness are also purified, and that the elements are balanced, and that we have a balance within our channels, winds and drops, and in particular we have this purification of our view, so that we overcome the main obstacle to our attaining enlightenment in terms of having an ordinary view of life and reality, and that we're able to swap that for a view of the pure. I think that is wonderful. That is something very good. And then through the combination of our own most subtle wind, acting as the substantial cause, with the body of the Buddha, acting as the cooperative conditions, our own body transforms into the enlightened body of a Buddha.
So the shindo service send the Nilang Lama Shajas and to the Lenji Chicken, so send the Lama Shajas and to the Josu, some such.
And then through the combination of our own most subtle mind, acting as the substantial cause, With the mind of the Buddha acting as the cooperative conditions, our own mind transforms into the enlightened mind of a Buddha. Now my own body, speech and mind are inseparable from the body, speech and mind of the Buddha. This gives rise to bliss, which transforms into emptiness, and we abide in the non-dual wisdom of non-dual bliss and emptiness. And the place in which we are is purified of all fault, and it transforms into a pure realm. And then, seeing myself as a fully enlightened Buddha, I emanate countless rays of light, equal in number to all the sentient beings in the realms of existence, and touching them and entering into their crowns, they immediately arise as fully enlightened Buddhas. And the place in which they are also is again purified of all fault and transforms into a pure realm. And that this is the day in which I have been able to fulfill that goal of bringing all sentient beings to the state of enlightenment. How wonderful that is, I rejoice. And that also I reflect that the state of enlightenment, the virtue that leads to that state, those that are led to that state, and indeed I, the one leading them to that state, are all empty of any objective existence and merely imputed by thought. From that arises bliss, from that bliss emptiness, and we abide in the wisdom of non-dual bliss and emptiness. And we make the dedication that even though we know this is just operating at the level of our own thought, of our imagination right now, but that we make a strong dedication that it quickly may be truly manifest. Do our Lamrim prayer. On my two collections, space that I have amassed from working with effort at this practice for a great length of time, may I become the chief leading Buddha for all those whose minds wisdomized, blinded by ignorance. Even if I do not reach this state, may I be held in your loving compassion for all lives and industry. May I find the best of complete greater paths of the teachings, and may I please all the Buddhas by my practice. Using skillful means drawn by the strong force of compassion, may I clear the darkness from the minds of all beings with the points on the path as I have descended them. May I uphold Buddhist teachings for a very long time, with my heart going out with great compassion in whatever direction the most precious teachings have not yet spread, but once spread have declined. May I reveal this treasure of happiness and aid. May the minds of those who wish for liberation be granted back to this peace, and the Buddhist deeds be nourished for a long time, by even this great path to enlightenment completed, due to the wondrous virtuous conduct of the Buddhas and their children. May all human and non-human beings who eliminate adversity and create conditions for practicing the excellent paths never be parted in any of their lives from the purest path praised by the Buddhas. Whenever someone makes effort to act in accordance with the tenfold Mahayana virtuous practices, may they always be assisted by the mighty ones, and may oceans of prosperity spread everywhere.